we get into the politics, hard issues ahead of tomorrow's by-election in Ejisu. So what is it in Ejisu that has sent the whole government machinery, from the president to the vice president, among others, campaigning, especially when the NDC is not contesting, especially when this is a stronghold of the NPP? But there's something in there. There's an independent candidate, Aisu Aduomi, Kwabena Aisu Aduomi. It's a straight fight between Kwabena Aisu Aduomi and, of course, Kwabena Boateng, a lawyer representing the NPP. What is going to be the tale of the tape, and how are things going to pan out? Well, let's listen to Mr. President there as he spoke in recent times, ramping up votes for the NPP.
Yes, you Aduomi. NPP. All right. So, person done it here. All cousin done it in my NPP. Now, never feel no more about on the M1. 2008. Obano. Na Ejisu ha. You know, MP, Emma Ejisu, a cabinet minister. Yeah, deputy minister. Cabinet minister. Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mijemu 2007. Semekwa pray the Franca Tuni Abano. And a young Wakufo, a Pejano, a Beshemanemu. Cabinet minister. Ono no baya, ono no besi kind. Eno tuno. Ebeye candidate in our faces, obey MP. And then say, I know the papa. Yes, sir. I know they na niche home. So I to cabinet minister. Our MP. And then they bonny be him. Now what do so no be about the two? Woody friend say deputy minister. And I owe ya. Emma na o nam na okika kansam. Sadia no. Sadia no. Yeah, independent bia. You who teach you. Since some said that so you for be said that and yeah, one no.
Those winding Kwabena Aisu Aduomi. Well, we'll find out, but let's come into the studio. We have that latest report from Global Info Analytics, and the head of that institution, Musa Dankwa, joins the conversation. Good to have you join the conversation. Good to hear. And there are some interesting comments that Mr. President has been passing, even before we situate the latest survey, the poll that you've brought to bear. What is your quick thought on that? And then I'll bring in Professor Alidu Seidu.
My thought on the comment of the President is that should Aduomi win the by-election, how does he expect him to caucus with the NPP?
Big question. We'll come into the details of that, the nitty-gritty of it. I've been posing that same question today. But let me also bring in Professor Alidu Seidu. He is head of the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning to you, my brother.
So I'll pose that same question to you. Ejisu has become a hotbed overnight. What used to be just an easy walkover, run over for the NPP has become a tricky situation because of that independent candidacy of Aduomi. But you have the president there saying that, guess what, Aduomi can go his way, it's not a problem, but he should stop talking. And he says this: only an NPP candidate can lobby for constituency development. Only an NPP candidate. I don't know, but what did you make of, the president, the vice, all of them going there, and some of the commentary from the president?
Okay, thank you. Good morning to you, and then good morning to your viewers. I think this scenario is replaying phenomena in my mind, but largely, politics is a game of numbers, especially in the legislature. This government still have about 7 to 8 months to prosecute government business. And the numbers game in our parliament has not been favorable over the years. So 137, 137. if NPP loses Ejisu, they're going to reduce by one number in parliament. And that will definitely affect the prosecution of government business. So the numbers game is very critical. But two, elections are always seen as a census on the performance of the incumbent government. So the NPP don't want to lose this seat, and then it will be like, even in your own stronghold, you have lost seats because you are not doing well. So victory in Ejisu will become the kind of campaign message for the NPP moving forward, that government have done well, we have been up to task, we have been implementing our manifesto.
But wait, Prof, how can that be a campaign message when it's like the NDC winning in Ketu North or winning in some other constituency in the Volta region? I mean, it's expected. It just has only become an issue because there's an independent candidate who was formerly in bed with the NPP, isn't it? I mean, Ejisu is a clear-cut NPP constituency.
Not necessarily. Over the years, we have heard prominent people from Ashanti region complaining that they are the vote basket of the NPP, but they have been neglected. They have complained about their roles. They have complained about stalled developmental projects, that they have been treated unfairly and all those things. It has become even to the extent that I think his prominence, the Ashanti has had cause to mention that at least deservedly some development should come to them. And if people have, the NDC and other opposition political parties have always said that the Ashanti region has been taken for granted, and they wouldn't do that. So it is a matter of political strategy that if NPP loses this seat, it becomes a very good campaign message for the opposition. And they'll say that even in their own backyard, because of their poor performance in government, they have lost. So it is a matter of what? Campaign strategy moving forward. It's not just about the numbers game in parliament, but it also adds up to a boosting right. It's just like if you win your constituency, your stronghold, it looks nothing. But if you lose it, it becomes a very big issue. So I think largely it has to do with the idea of the fact that it is not just a swing region or constituency, it is their stronghold. And you look at it, since 1996, the NPP has never won by less than 80% at the presidential level in Ejisu. And the NDC, and they have at the parliamentary level, they have never won by less than 70%. I think the list was 75.7 in 1996. And the NDC has never made it more than, has never done more than, close to 20%. I think the highest they came to 20% was 23.2 in 1996. So it is the bastion of NPP support. So to lose a by-election in their constituency like that is a huge indictment on government and government performance. So I think it is critical. I know that this has become so competitive because of the very strong. We have 3 independent candidates, but the former MP, which is Aisu, Aduomi, he is very strong. And I think the campaign messages, the wrap-up campaign messages of the NPP has actually given this guy a huge political mileage. I think almost speaker after speaker spent time saying how he is not fit and bastardizing him, rather than speaking to the delegates what the NPP will do in that constituency, what the person coming up, the second vice chairman, what is he coming to do? What is his pedigree? What are his experiences? What can he do to actually uptake development in the constituency? All the speeches after speeches were focusing on this strong independent candidate. And that has given him a huge political mileage. People who didn't even know him want to search and look out for him. Who is this guy who is making this whole thing very competitive? Who is this guy who has become a serious thorn in the flesh of the NPP, including even the president? So I think largely all the speeches have done a lot of disfavor to the NPP's candidate and has rather focused on highlighting and negating and bastardizing the stronger independent candidate. And people definitely search out for him. I never knew him until all these things started. Then I got curious to know who he is. And I think there are a lot of independent-minded people who do the same. And I'm happy Musa Dankwa is here. Their post actually suggests that I think he is getting a lot of support from both the NDC floating voters, and even he's eating a bit into the NPP's voter population. And since he's there, I think I'll allow that to.
Yes, but before I come into the studio, because that's where we'll really just two quick questions. So it would appear from what you're saying that from where you sit, you think because of the incessant attack, even from as high an office as the presidency, the vice presidency, on Kwabena Aduomi, there is some sympathy being courted by people for him, one. And two, what do you think, and if you do agree, what do you think strategy-wise? Do you think the NDC saw this coming, and that is why they said, you know what, we're not going to contest. We're stepping aside so that their voters, among other floating voters, could then go and do the damage, and then it would serve their purpose. Do you think that is what is happening?
It is the wisest decision that the NDC has taken. If NDC was going to file a candidate, he wouldn't have been competitive as this independent candidate is, because they are not filing a candidate. And one, they will have spent so much money and eventually even losing the seat. So to decide that they are not going to contest, directly or indirectly throwing their weight behind this candidate, has actually created that mileage that he has received. And I think that is rather making the election more competitive. And I think politics and elections specifically is more about strategy. And I think the NDC has gotten it right now. Whether the independent candidate wins or not, at least it has shown the NPP that incumbency advantage has a limit to some extent. And I think I'm so kind of surprised by the statements that has been made by the president and other leading NPP members in Ejisu, looking at what they did in Forbina the last time. The same things were said about this candidate, their candidate who had gone in. Yes, Isiama. And then they later on went back to plead with him and to work with him. And he's serving a lot of their interest in parliament. If I were them, I would have taken a cue from that experience and be very, very moderate and decorous with my language in what's happening in the Ejisu now. And I think politicians usually don't learn.
Let me come into the studio. Musa Dangwa, I see you laughing because this is what, immediately I heard some of the comments. I became startled, but even more. And maybe, Doc, Prof, just humor me on this as well. When, for example, the president says, so someone like this, an independent candidate, cannot bring development, quoting his words. Let me just bring that. I just want, from the governance standpoint, how right that is. He says, only an NPP candidate can lobby for constituency development. How does that sit with you?
I don't think it is entirely correct to say that. We know that when your government is in power, it gives you a little bit of advantage because the executive, people who are in the executive positions are mostly your colleagues, especially in a situation where there is so much patrimonial politics, which has been laced in governance. It suggests that you can use the party route to reach out to executive officers to lobby development into your constituency. But where it is a matter of free and fair electoral processes, every constituency deserves the right to be developed by the government of the day, whether the candidate is from that party that is in power or not. So let's assume that our system is not that open and that free. So because he is not part of the government in power, it may affect his ability to lobby development. But mind you, he's also a former member of parliament, but also he comes from a constituency, a region that is the stronghold of the NPP. And there are caucuses in the NPP that cover the Ashanti region. So he could also even lobby through the Ashanti caucus to be able to get development. But even development is not just the preserve of government. There are other civil society organizations, NGOs, international donor communities that are able to step in. If the MP is very well connected, he can lobby and development outside of the purview of government. But it may become very difficult, but not impossible, for MPs to be able to develop their constituencies, even if they are not members of government.
Prof, hold for me. Let me bring in the Director of Operations at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Srebo Kweku, into the conversation. Doc, good morning.
Good morning.
It's really good having you. This is just to cross-check a few issues. How prepared are you for tomorrow's by-election in Ejisu?
Thank you very much. My regards to your listeners. We have submitted all the materials and the resources that are needed to the district I've been in Ejisu since Saturday. Everything is set. Today, we are concluding the packaging and the orientation of how the work will be done with the night security and the rest. We have had a lot of meeting with the security, so I would say that we are good to go.
Okay, so we can guarantee that elections, the process will start on time and that everything will be seamless, at least per your preparations, right?
Exactly, by our preparation, that is the situation. We are hoping that by 6:30, all the polling stations should have received their materials, so we can start at 7 o'clock.
Are there any challenges you faced so far?
So far, we haven't encountered any challenge.
Okay. We've also heard some allegations of people stuffing ballots and all of that. What is your response to that?
I was thinking that we have gone beyond this form of allegations. Because the materials will be sent to the polling station, the ballot boxes will be opened and shown to the people present before voting starts. Then when we finish, we do the counting there and there. We don't take the boxes to a secret place to do the counting. So if the ballot boxes are stopped, doesn't mean that when we are going to start the balloting, there will be a ballot press in it, and when we open it and show it to the voters, would they see it? I don't know where the stopping will take place. We have gone beyond such allegations.
Right. Just a quick one before you go. In terms of security, I know you are not technically in charge of security, but in terms of securing the process and ensuring that the right results are declared, if you cast your mind back to the primary in Yendi of the NPP and what happened, the NPP decided to give the nod to Aliu Mahama, right? But looking at the skirmishes that ensued there, how has the EC collaborated with the police service, for example, to prevent any such happening? Because you see it is a crucial election. The independent candidates, the NPP's candidate. How is the EC looking at the security situation?
As I said, we have had a lot of interactions with the security. The top security people are all in Ejisu, and they have given us all the assurances. So we are hoping that nobody will go and misbehave to create any confusion for anybody. So like we did in Kumawu and Asinov, we are expecting that it to be replicated, if not even better. So I am convinced that the people will behave, everybody will behave, and we'll have peaceful elections.
Any final words, Doc?
Come again?
Any final words?
Yeah, my advice is that elections are won by the people who voted for you. So if anybody has an issue, they should rather go and talk to the people for them to vote for them. The Electoral Commission will do anything to protect the sanctity of the election. And I pray that nobody will get into trouble because of election. Nobody should lose even the stub of the hair because of the election. You ask us to take a decision. Go and give your one vote to the candidate of your choice and allow others to do this, so that they will count it accordingly.
All right. Doc, thank you so much. We're grateful that you took the time to join us this morning. Dr. Sribo Kwekwe is Director of Operations with the Electoral Commission. All right, so we also have Nana Boakye, who is Organizing Secretary of the NPP. He joins the conversation. Nana Boakye, good morning.
Good morning. My position is National Organizer.
National Organizer, my apologies.
Yes.
National Organizer, Nana Boakye. I saw you in the footage in there in Ejisu, also whipping up, the crowd to vote for Kwabena Boateng, your candidate. But some of the data we are seeing suggests that it's going to be a very tight race. Global Info Analytics coming through with a survey, also pointing to the fact that your candidate is going to have a torrid time. It appears the NDC end is supporting the independent candidate, Aduomi, and some floating voters, and even some members of the NPP. How concerned are you?
Oh, yes. We are not being complacent at all. But however, for me as a person, I don't really go by info analytics and what they say. For me, I think they've rather conducted more discredited polls than the ones that we see. They had some credibility.
You say they are discredited, but let me just add that in the past, even in your primaries, a lot of what they have conjectured, a lot of what they have done research on the ground about has actually come to play, even in your primaries.
It is not true. It is not true.
It is not?
In recent times, you recall that they predicted that in our internal presidential primaries, we are going to go for a second round, and that it was going to be neck race. In fact, before then, they had even mentioned that Alan Martin was even going to win. And when Alan exited, they said it was going to be a very tight race, and it was going to go into a second round. I think it was clearly false. I mean, it looks like somebody who just comfort of living area and who just endure, something. I'm trying to tell you that the things that the media. But for me, most of them, they come out there. It's more discreet that they haven't.
Nanabi, I would beg of you to just position yourself a bit better. The line is getting a bit patchy. With the SRI, if you can just reposition yourself a bit. You can still hear me, right?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, now your connection is better. Now it's better. So it's not a big concern for you, Ejisu. You think this poll is not reflective of what is on the ground, but for the government machinery.
No, I'm not saying it's not a reflection of what is on the ground. We are coming up against a former MP who has been MP for 3 times, 12 years. So you will have some footprints in the constituency. We are not discounting that at all. But all that we are trying to say is that he was MP because he was NPP member. He won our primaries, and then he became the MP. He took out a cabinet minister, and then that cabinet minister never went independent. He stayed in the party and campaigned for you 3 times. Honorable Seidu, who was the foreign affairs minister, and then he took out, campaigned for you 3 different times. The first time, 2009, 2008 campaign, he did it. 2012, 2016, he did it. So it's unfortunate that you lose to John Kuma in 2020, and then all of a sudden you have some missiles against.
Okay, well, Mr. President himself said that, he is free to go independent and all that. But I have a question. With everything that is happening, it's obvious that the NPP is very concerned about this seat because of the optics and what it could mean. But the Fomena situation comes to mind here. Honorable Isiama, and what happened. And some are asking, why is the NPP playing by this playbook one more time? And we can't work with this person, and this person will not be able to bring in development, and this person is being ungrateful. Couldn't you have done your campaign without going down that trajectory? Because let's assume, this is politics, anything could happen. If Aduomi wins, how then do you bring him into your caucus? Or would you let him caucus with the others?
How do you want us to react to it? When you have the NDC saying they are supporting him, I'm surprised you're even asking this question.
We've spoken to many members of the NDC and they've never suggested that they were supporting.
Kindly grant me this space to respond. We are a political entity. In our constitution, if you go independent against our elected candidate, you are no more part of the party. That is number one. Number two, we have a candidate in this race. And the independent candidate is raising issues. In fact, at one point, he's saying that he's the one constructing the roads. Yes, His Excellency the President must answer and say that this is not true. It is the NPP government that is constructing the roads. Again, when you say that you have been unfair, I recall that in recent times, you granted an interview and said that NPP is not benefited, he's not gotten anything from NPP, nothing whatsoever. And if the argument should be stretched, then it means he has rather given something out to the NPP. But we need to let people know that he's been MP on NPP's ticket for 12 good years. And then he took out an NPP member. That NPP member never went independent. And these are facts. So it is not as if, so I don't understand how the strategy you are trying to put across. So what? We should not be responding to some of the issues he raised, and the fact that the NDC is saying that they are not contesting and that they have thrown their weight behind him. We should not mention it.
I never suggested that. All I'm saying is, for example, when you use language like only an NPP candidate can lobby for constituency development, it's a bit problematic, isn't it?
No, it's not problematic at all. It is a fact.
I see.
It is a fact because this is an NPP government. Honorable Asensu is an NPP deputy. He is a minister because he's an NPP MP, and his government is in power. So if he says that, look, please vote for the NPP parliamentary candidate. And don't forget that in Parliament, because of Honorable John Kuma's demise, now it is 137, 137.
All right.
137, 137.
Right.
So we will need an NPP MP to still hold on Parliament to our slim majority that we have. So yes, we need to campaign to people. We need to tell people that they should not look the way of the independent candidate.
Right. But if, because this is life, anything can happen. If Aduomi wins, would you want him to caucus with the NPP?
He's not going to win.
If he does, the same way Isiama won in Fomena.
He is not going to win.
You can say that for sure.
Yes.
So the NPP is winning in Ejisu.
We have won already, let me tell you.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Nana Boakye, thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Thank you very much.
Nana Boakye is the national organizer of the New Patriotic Party. But let me also bring in Nana Osei-Bonsu, aide to the man you just heard Nana Boakye speaking about, that he's not going to win, aide to Kwabena Owusu Aduomi. Nana Osei-Bonsu, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, my friend.
I don't think I need to regurgitate this. You heard Nana Boakye, national organizer of the NPP, saying that your candidate, Charlie, there's no way he's going to win. Your response?
It doesn't even need a response. Nanabi does not vote in Ejisu. I am voting in Ejisu. And we are saying that Mr. Aduomi is going to win tomorrow. So what does it mean? What does it mean when he says he's not going to win? In any case, he is not voting in Ejisu. He doesn't vote in Ejisu. Me, my vote will be counted, and it will be counted for Mr. Aduomi. And so even on this platform today, it is 1-0.
Now, looking at some of the allegations very quickly that your candidate has been making about, the NPP has done nothing for him, and some roads he is doing them. Members of the party responded. The president himself said that, listen, no road is done without his consent. So if anything is being done, it is he, the president, who is seeing to it, not a certain Aduomi and all of that. There was talk suggesting that he was being ungrateful, that a cabinet minister had left for him to come as member of parliament and later become deputy minister and all of that. How do you respond to these concerns?
Okay, first of all, I'll respect President Nana Addo Seidu to first apologize to the people of Ejisu for the way and manner NPP leadership has treated us. Like we mentioned earlier, Mr. Aduomi did not decide to contest this on an independent ticket merely because he wanted to do so. It was because of the nature of the delegate album we have in the show. The album that we are questioning its credibility. We question its credibility. It's not credible. And for that reason, he couldn't have contested on the party's ticket. Hello?
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So that is it. So the people of Ejisu who called on him to come back, but this time on an independent ticket, since he could not contest on the party ticket because of the nature of the album we have in the constituency. Again, when he says NPP has not done anything, we all know how much he's contributed to the end.
Right.
He has been financing the party in the constituency. There are a number of other responsibilities he has been taking care of.
Has he constructed roads?
Pardon?
Has he constructed roads?
No, he hasn't. And Nanado has also not constructed any road in Ghana. Nanado has not constructed any road. It is government of Ghana.
Right.
It is taxpayers' money. And Ejisu has had its fair share of it. And it took Mr. Aduomi to lobby for our share. And so, for me, it's sort of kind of funny when the president says that Mr. Aisu played no in getting the project down to Ejisu.
Okay.
Certainly does not fit well with me.
Are you winning tomorrow?
Sure, we are winning tomorrow. Ejisu is speaking tomorrow. Ejisu is making a bold statement tomorrow.
Thank you, Nana Osei-Bonsu, for joining the conversation. He is aide to Kwabena Owusu Aduomi. Let's come into the studio and then we'll wrap with you and Prof. But situate the conversation for us. What does your latest poll reveal? When did you conduct this poll?
I was between Monday 22nd and Thursday 25th.
So 3 days on the ground?
I think 4 days.
4 days?
4 days.
Okay. And what are the basic details? How many people did you sample? What is the margin of error? What are we looking at?
We sampled 1,351 voters.
Okay.
Remember, there are 102,000 voters in Ejisu, and there are about 28 electoral areas. We polled in 19 of the 28 electoral areas. And the areas we polled actually contribute about 72% of all votes in Ejisu.
Okay.
So we are quite confident that our numbers are affecting them.
Even before we get into that, you heard Nana Boakye, national organizer, he was bastardizing your polls and all. I noticed you were shaking your head vehemently. Would you like to quickly respond to him before we go?
Yes, I think it's either they don't know how to read the polls themselves, so when we publish them, they can read and understand it. But we've never said anywhere that Alan was winning the NPP primaries. Never in the polls we've done. Absolutely not. Okay. What we did was to ask all voters at the time who they would prefer to lead NPP. And at that point, 54% said they preferred Alan to lead.
Okay.
We didn't say...
Not necessarily people who were going to
vote. Absolutely. So it's either the English they are struggling with or something else. Right. And then secondly, we said there would be runoff in the NPP primaries. In fact, your station is testimony of that. I had a program with one of your colleagues, and we said emphatically that this race was not going to go in any runoff because of the performance of the two candidates, and that there were 32% of people who said they were undecided or did not tell us. Certainly, they would not sit home.
So it's untenable what he was saying.
I mean, it's untenable. So if you stop spewing that lies all the time.
All right. So let's get into the main meat of the matter. What picture are you seeing in Ejisu on the back of the survey?
Look, there are dynamics happening in Ejisu right now. And the viability of Aduomi is because of NPP.
The viability of Aduomi, the independent candidate,
yes,
one of the main independent candidates, is because of the NPP.
NPP themselves.
How so?
Because you have 36% of NPP supporters are voting for Aduomi. 36%. And then I have our 66% voting for Kwabena Boateng. Now, at the moment, overall, NPP is 50.6%. Aduomi, 47.5%. Remember,
NPP is 50.6%. Okay.
Aduomi is 47.5%. A gap of 3.1%.
3.1%?
Yes.
But you did say that your margin of error was what?
That is where I'm coming. The margin of error is 3.4%, which means that if the lead by any candidate is less than the margin of error, in polling, it's a tie race. Anybody can win the race.
It could swing anywhere.
Could swing anywhere.
In other words, this is too close to call.
Too close to call. Too close to call.
But how do you think Aduomi has been able to, amass such prominence, apart from the NPP, like you are saying, maybe giving him, because now people are paying attention. Prof Alidu Seidu said he didn't even know this guy. He started reading about him because of the jabs the NPP was throwing. How do you think he's done it?
You see, there are coalition of forces against NPP in Ejisu. And remember, in by-elections, it's an opportunity for voters to vent their anger against any incumbent in by-elections. So this one opportunity for them to say that we don't like what you are doing as a protest. And then two, you have NDC that doesn't have a candidate in the race. And that 92% of NDC voters are rallying behind Aduomi.
Per the poll?
Per the poll.
92% of NDC voters are going to support Aduomi and vote for him.
Vote for him. You have 60% of floating voters who account for about 16% in Ejisu are doing Aduomi. 95% of smaller party supporters, CPP, PPP, and PNC guys, are doing Aduomi.
In other words, this means that any little shift from core NPP voters
could spell a doom.
Kwabena Boateng is in trouble.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
And the model suggests that, from what we have done from the numbers, if Aduomi does extra 4% among NPP by moving from 36 to 40%, tomorrow will be his day.
So you're saying, in effect, this is the MPP's
own doing.
Seat to lose?
Yes.
It is their seat to lose?
Yes. Because it's their members that are voting for Aduomi in a massive number.
Prof Alidu Seidu, how do you react to this, and what will be your parting shots for us?
I think by-elections are always protest against things that people were not happy about. Either they are members of the incumbent party or outside of the incumbent party. So I think there are a lot of things that, even internal politics within the NPP, the selection of the parliamentary candidates and all those things that came with it, a lot of people were not happy. And they believe that maybe this is an opportunity for us to protest loudly so that the party will look at us. But what is more intriguing to me about these polls is the fact that the data suggested about 33% of electors will accept bribe and vote for the candidate that has given them the bribe. 32 will accept bribe and will vote differently. If you put that two numbers of categories who accept bribe, it's about 65% compared to the number of people who will not take bribe. So it said about 13% will reject bribe but still vote for the candidate that offered it. And about, I think, 21 will reject the bribe and vote against the candidate. If you add those who will be rejecting the bribe, it's almost 34% compared to those who will be accepting the bribe. And we know that monetization and monetary politics has been very instrumental in our electoral processes. And you usually feel it more even in an isolated case of a by-election where all the people in the country will move in there. Even though I think it is highly discouraging to me, these kind of figures, but I also take solace in the fact that what happened in Asset North can happen anywhere in Ghana, that people will still take the money and decide that I'm going to respect my conscience and I'm still going to vote the way that I think I'll vote to bring development to me as an individual, to my constituency, and develop the democracy of the country. So I respect polls, especially when it is properly done. And I believe that they give us a lot of information to feed on and to change and strengthen our strategies moving forward. So I think it will be a very interesting dynamics at Ejisu, and we all look forward to what will happen tomorrow.
We all look forward to it. As political animals, as we call ourselves, we're all looking forward to it. Prof, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You have the final word.
This election, I've never seen a by-election so tensed. And that
when you see a president and vice there, it means it's not a joke.
Yeah, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. And if you look at the political consequences of a flip of that seat and what it means for Nanado's presidency, it could be dire. And that's why they have to win this seat to keep themselves afloat. Otherwise, 2024 election will begin to unravel in Ejisu.
The 2024 elections could begin to unravel in Ejisu.
Yes.
But even if my final bit, even if the MPP wins and they win by a small margin,
that's what I'm saying.
That will also be damaged, right?
Absolutely, because if you look at what we are seeing in the poll, we are seeing a reversal of fortunes of MPP in Ashanti region compared to what Nano did in 2020 elections. And if that pattern is going to be repeated in Ejisu, and we can expand this model across, that could be dire.
Musa Dankwa, thank you very much for joining the conversation. Executive Director, Global Info Analytics. We also had joining that conversation Nana Boakye. He is national organizer of the NPP. We had Professor Alidu Seidu, head of department at the University of Ghana. At the point, we also spoke to Nana Osei-Bonsu, aide to Kwabena Owusu Aduomi. We had all of these people joining the conversation, together with the Electoral Commission's Director of Operations, Dr. Sribo Kweku. Stay with us. Up next, we have our final conversation, relief and aid. What do they do in health, and in education. They'll be telling us more about that right after the break. Do stay.